This was a rough day. Every time I drink the water, I throw up.
This is Amateur Survival. I'm Darin Cardin. I'm a novice survivalist going on a 2-day simulated survival trip. This time I'm near the Black Pond in the White Mountains. I'll be testing out techniques I've seen on TV and the internet. I'm gonna put these techniques to the test and see if a normal person with no experience can use them effectively.
Since I've been here, I've been looking around for acorns because it's fall and acorns come in the fall. And furthermore, acorns are edible.
Acorns drop only from oak trees. These trees grow on every continent in the world except Antarctica.
There are acorns all over the place. In fact, we've got quite a few right here, and these are brand new. You cannot eat these things raw. They have a chemical in them which is poisonous, but if you boil them or soak them in water, you can remove this chemical and then you can eat these things. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't have any water right now, but there's streams all over here, so that's not going to be a problem. So I'm going to grab these and keep on going. I'm going to take a break, and while I do, we can talk about the supplies that I brought with me. I've got a knife. I've got a tin can. I've got a camera lens. I also have my sleeping bag and a tarp. I've also got some gum wrappers here, and this is to test another trick I've seen on TV, where they take this metallic gum wrapper and they touch one side, each side of the battery, and that starts a fire. But the idea is that you have this portion in the middle very small, and when you have the current going through, this is kind of going to get shorted out, and this is where the fire is going to start.
The Black Pond is located in the center of the White Mountains National Forest in New Hampshire. The pond feeds into the Pimagewasset River, a 65-mile river that travels through most of the White Mountain chain. This river is the former location of a railroad operation that transported timber in the early 1900s. The destruction caused by the woodcutting was so great that legislation was enacted to protect the area. Nature has since reclaimed the location, with a large variety of trees growing in the area.
So we're at the pond, and the first thing I want to do is get some food, prepare some food.
I'm going to prepare the acorns. There are 2 techniques for making acorns edible. The one I'm going to try today is called leeching. Basically, you're crushing the acorns up, then soaking them in running water for 24 hours. This process removes the tannin. I'm going to tie the stalk off with a small piece of cord, tie the other side to a branch, and stick the branch in a stream.
Wow, look at this.
I found a campsite directly behind the pond.
This is looking good. This is fantastic. I don't have to do anything. This is definitely the spot. Absolutely.
I know it's going to rain tonight, so I'm setting up my shelter now. I'm going to use a standard lean-to shelter. Additionally, since the tarp is waterproof, I can use it to collect rainwater. It's simply a matter of funneling the water to a single point. I'll put 4 stakes in the ground. The first 2 are about 8 inches tall. What I'm going to do is fold the back edge of the tarp forward, then tie the corners to the stake. This fold creates a gutter. It'll catch the rainwater and funnel it to the side. The other stakes are about 4 feet in height. I'll attach the other 2 corners of the tarp to these. Here's an angle from the back. One of the back corners is higher than the other. This will help the water funnel to one point. With this setup, all the water will end up at the lower edge of the tarp. This is where I'll put my tin can.
Literally, just in time. 5 minutes after I finished the shelter, it just started to rain pretty hard. If I didn't have this thing set up, or if I didn't have this thing, period, dude, it would be another pass of Conway, and I just can't do another one of those. But this, so far so good. So far so good. That water collection, that works wicked good, wow. I never really used that technique before, but jeez, that's okay in my book. And that's fresh water too. It's not like you're drinking from the stream hoping for the best. There's nothing to worry about with this. So that's the end of today. Tomorrow we'll try that bubblegum wrapper trick. I don't know. We'll see.
The first thing I'm gonna do is get a fire going. Preparation is the key. You need to have plenty of tinder ready so that if you do get a fire, you can keep it going. There's a number of yellow birch trees nearby. Birch bark makes good tinder, but the yellow birch has especially good bark.
Okay, so we're gonna try to make a fire, and I'm gonna use this lens technique first. Got some tinder right here. We've got the lens, got some good sun.
The sun is at its hottest at about 1 in the afternoon, so this is the ideal time to try. This technique is basically the same as starting a fire with a magnifying glass. In theory, it should be simple. You're concentrating the beam of sunlight into a tiny point. This beam is very hot, and this is what causes the fire. I've even seen a case where a television screen was used as a giant magnifying glass. The beam from this lens could melt a stack of pennies.
So I've had this thing going for like 15 minutes now, and I'm just not seeing anything. I don't have any confidence in this thing. Additionally, I feel sick. The water made me sick again. So I gotta get some fire fast so we can boil this water so I don't have to drink it like this anymore.
I'm gonna make another attempt at a fire. This time I'm trying the bubblegum wrapper technique.
You've got this piece of gum wrapper, and you got a battery. Well, I've got 2 batteries in this case. 2 is better than 1, right? So, the idea here, at least this is what I saw, is that you have this piece of metallic paper, and you touch one end to either side of the charge.
The idea here is that when you touch the wrapper to both ends of the battery, you're completing a circuit. Electrons will flow from the negative end to the positive end. As these electrons pass through the gum wrapper, they'll bump into the atoms that make up the wrapper. This is what creates the heat. It's the same reason a wire gets hot. If the heat exceeds a certain temperature, the material will combust.
I don't know what to say, dude.
In this case, the current was not enough to generate the required heat. I've seen this done on TV, and I don't understand what happened.
Look at this.
I found several pitcher plants by the side of the pond. It's a carnivorous plant that feeds on bugs. The plant is actually shaped like a pitcher and catches rainwater. Bugs fall into this water and are digested by the plant. The plant is worth talking about because the water it contains is drinkable. I'm not going to drink any yet because I'm not that desperate, but it is a way to get some fresh water. I've got one last chance for a fire, the bow drill technique. The bow drill technique is very tricky and requires many steps. It begins with selecting the correct wood to work with. You're looking for a softer wood. Most people say pine is the best. The bow drill consists of 4 parts: the baseboard, spindle, socket, and bow. The bow can be made of any piece of wood that roughly resembles a bow. You attach a string to either end of it. The spindle should look like a broomstick, about a foot long. Pine works the best. The baseboard is what you're going to drill the spindle into. It needs to be flat. When the spindle drills into this board, it creates hot dust. This hot dust is what creates the fire. Once again, pine is ideally what you want. The socket holds everything together. It can be made of any wood type, but ideally you want something harder than the spindle. From here I'm going to carve out a wedge shape that goes about 1/3 of the way in. This is where the hot dust will fall. If this wedge is not carved correctly, you will not get fire. From here, you're ready to go. The spindle should spin smoothly. If it doesn't, this will be a very difficult task. And even if it does spin smoothly, it's still a difficult task. When you see smoke, that means you're on the right track. Give it your all for another 30 seconds, then check for an ember. You know you have one when the dust smokes by itself. I did get smoke, but I didn't get the ember. This went on for over an hour. I tried my best, but it just wasn't gonna happen. No fire tonight.
This was a rough day. Every time I drink the water, I throw up. It's like 7 o'clock right now. The sun's going down in any seconds. I've tried the fire bow. I can't get that to work. The lens, that didn't do anything. There's no effect. The gum wrappers, I mean, it looks so easy when they do it. I don't know. There's nothing I can do, but you know, this is it. I'm just gonna sleep and lay here for the night. First thing tomorrow morning, I'm out of here. Okay, so we've got the sock full of cleaned acorns. Although when I say cleaned, I say it in the loosest terms possible because this has been rinsing through tainted water for like 30 hours now. Let's taste one of these. I can still taste the chemical. The rinsing did seem to get some of the chemicals out. I can still kind of taste it though. Maybe I didn't crush them up enough, I don't know. I mean, maybe you could eat them. Maybe there's enough of the chemical gone that you could eat them, but given that I know the water is not drinkable, I'm not gonna risk throwing up again. Trust me, we've had enough of that.
Leeching acorns is a technique that's been used by the natives for thousands of years. If done correctly, it'll give you a very plentiful food supply. Having shelter against the rain is very important. If I didn't have the tarp up in time, it would have been a horrid night. Fire with a gum wrapper is not as easy as I thought. I've seen this done on several shows, and it's always done with ease. Sometimes television can be misleading. I thought using a lens to start a fire would be no different than using a magnifying glass. I was wrong. I guess the sunlight was not sufficiently focused. I've practiced the bow drill technique for years, but it's never a sure thing. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, and some of them, like the weather, are out of your control.
Alright, we're at the bridge. We made it out.